From just outside the Laurel Gardens Ice House in Laurel, Maryland, this is the Boxing Along the Beltway Post-Fight Wrap-Up Show. The Boxing Along the Beltway Post-Fight Wrap-Up Show is brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain and muscle strain and everything in between, Boxing Along the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, safe plant-based ointment. And if you go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com, where you can find that nice boxing glove pendant, and your first purchase on DeborahSpears.com is 20% off, and shipping is free on Deborah, Debra, Spears.com. Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams alongside Juan Marshall. Before we start our podcast tonight, I just wanted to apologize. We had a real tough time this evening getting a broadcast together. We got some of the card, but not the whole card. So we just could not do it. It was intermittent. The Wi-Fi was not good at all inside there. So it was really tough to do it. So that's one reason why we're doing the post-fight episode show outside in the in front of the Laurel Ice House here tonight. But it was a very good card put on by Jetta Promotions and GQ Promotions card. However, the main event turned out to be very unsatisfying. The bout was for the vacant USBA and WBC US NBC welterweight titles between Jerome Quigley and Raymond Serrano, and unfortunately, both are still vacant, and here's why. Late in the first round, the two men clashed heads, and it was an awful cut on the top of Jerome Quigley's forehead. And as the bout went into the second round, almost 2 minutes into the second round, doctors looked at the cut, could not close it, could not stop the bleeding from coming, and the bout was stopped by referee Kenny Chevalier, and because it did not go to 4 rounds, it was declared a no contest. But I gotta tell you, Juan, I think you'll agree with me, Raymond Serrano really had a good outing for the first round and plus 2 minutes in this contest.
He established himself right from the start. You know, he came out using his jab, and he was able to back Jerome Quigley up. I'm not sure if that was Jerome Quigley's plan to fight backwards, but the way it looked from our perspective, it looked like Serrano was backing him up.
And if it looked like that to our perspective, imagine what it looked like to the judge's perspective. Now, according to our colleague Ron Harris of the Sentinel, Prince George's Sentinel, that was a plan by Quigley. And if it was a plan, not sure if it worked tonight.
Yeah, if that was the plan, I wonder what was the strategy.
Right.
Because normally, like you said, you're taking the risk of how the judge sees things. Because you're not just backing up fighting, but also you have to be able to dish out shots while you're backing up to make it seem like you were in control of the situation. And that's what didn't happen tonight. As Quigley was backing up, Serrano was the one that was throwing the shots and the quality shots.
Yeah. It looked like he saw something in Quigley's arsenal that he thought he could exploit, and unfortunately, he just didn't have the time to do so. So, men's record remains the same. Jerome Quigley now 18-0 with 1 no contest, 16 KOs. Raymond Serrano 24-5, 1 no contest, and 10 KOs. So again, a tough break to what looked like on paper to be a very good bout going forward, but it did not happen, and it may do it again. But I gotta be honest, I can't see this bout happening again at 147 pounds. I just have to think Quigley's gonna have a tough time, and he needs to be at 154.
If he gets disciplined when it comes to the diet of a fighter trying to make weight, especially going into championship type fights, you have to be on weight. Yeah. It's not a pound above. You have to be on point, to the T. Yeah. You can come under, but you can't come over, not even 1 ounce. And that's the discipline fighters have to understand. When it's time to make weight, sometimes you're doing it, but your body is not conditioned just to drop the weight. Your body is not programmed to drop but so much weight. And that goes back to what you're saying. Maybe he has to go to 154.
It may be. We'll have to see what happens there. That's going to be interesting to see what goes on there. Now, tonight's card featured a bout that I think will end up, barring any kind of uniqueness going the rest of this year, as the knockout of the year, and a bout that could very easily contend for bout of the year tonight. The knockout of the year took place in our co-feature I think they about that probably may end up being knockout of the year. I can't see too many other knockouts unless something really, really special happens. And it happened again from the Vanilla Gorilla himself, Sam Crossett, who needed just 23 seconds to knock out Joshua Jones of Augusta, Maine. And I got to tell you, the knockout took place with a brutal right hand that really knocked out Jones before he hit the canvas. And knocked him in such a way, it knocked him slumped over face forward, and then he dropped to his knees. And Crossett landed a left hand after the right hand. Left hand really didn't serve any purpose. It was all the right hand. And again, it just took 23 seconds for Crossett to get the knockout.
Crossett is a fighter that I was told about, and that when I actually seen him, he was actually everything that I was told about. His strength, his power is definitely there. And it's even better that I noticed that he's over there with Ernesto. Ernesto Rodriguez putting everything he needs to put Sam Crossett together in a package that hopefully, that we just had a conversation, hopefully dropping down to 175, because Sam always wanted to talked about trying to drop weight, but it was so hard for him because of his muscle mass. But dietarily, he can put it together at the right time between fights. If he has 6 months, I think they can do it the right way.
Okay.
I think they can do it the right way.
Well, Crossett did quit his bartending job. He was a bartender for a while. He did quit that. And again, I think the move over to Ernesto Rodriguez, for those who don't know, he is the trainer of the IBF, WBA, and IBO super welterweight champion, Swift Jared Hurd. And it was just great. And actually, I talked to someone after that fight, and he asked me if I saw the punch. I said, yeah, it was a beautiful right hand. He said, that's an Ernesto right hand. That's what he told me. It's an Ernesto right hand. So Sam Crossett moves to 7-0, 5 KOs. Joshua Jones loses for the first time. He's 2-1 with 1 KO. Also on the card tonight, Cobia Soldier Breedy. Cobia Breedy out of Clinton, Maryland, by way of Bridgetown, Barbados. Put on another good performance, winning a 6-round unanimous decision over Drew Cruel Intentions Carell of Danville, Virginia. In a bout where I saw a little different Cobia Breedy tonight. Unlike his last bout, which was on May 19th at the International Harbor, which I thought he looked fantastic in that bout. There's a lot of herky-jerky movement with Cobia Breedy. And I, although the scores called it a shutout, I wasn't sure about the shutout. I thought Carell won at least 1 or 2 rounds. I think Cobia Breedy won the fight, no question about it. But I really thought that Carell had his moments in the bout, and I don't think he got credit for it.
I can give 5-1. I can agree with that. But what it is, I was talking to Mike Fox, and what he was telling me, which I think actually helps Breedy. It brings awkwardness to his opponents with the herky-jerkiness, because he says when he spars them, it gets on his nerves. So basically that helps him in fights because it throws fighters off. And also, I noticed Kobe has a lot of things going for him. Excellent job of being able to stay undefeated at fighting at 130 and 135. Then he drops down to 126, maintains his power and his speed, and stays and still feels healthy and strong.
Yeah, I think the power is a little bit improved.
Yeah, exactly. And it improved. And it was the perfect thing for him. And I think tonight what I saw the footwork. I saw him moving in angles. I seen him changing from orthodox to southpaw when he needed to do it. And that was creating openness for him. And that's exactly what he needed. And he did a great job doing it.
Yep. The scores, once again, John Gradowski and Don Richard scored about 60-54. Paul Wallace scored about 60-53, which means he gave Breedy 1 round as a 10-8 round. So Breedy raises record now to 12-0, 4 KOs. Drew Carell loses for the first time. He's 9-1, 8 KOs. The bout of the year candidate took place between Francisco the Cisco Kid Bustos out of Rockville, Maryland. He took on Javon John of Newport News, Virginia. And that bout was wild, to say the very least. Both guys swinging for the fences at times. And it looked like in the first round, John was really on his toes and really landing some key shots on Bustos. And then went into the second round, and John seemed to continue that. And all of a sudden, Bustos landed a counter right hand that dropped John and really changed the entire complexion of the bout.
And what it was, like you said, it was 2 southpaws, I think. 2
southpaws.
2 southpaws with the exact same style. And that's what it was. Both guys throwing the same punches, but it was a matter of who connected first. And that's what happened tonight, because John was had his shots when he was throwing at Busto and was able to connect. Had Busto hurt and backing up at one time, and Busto did the same thing with him. Had him, but it was the second round that took that changed the whole dynamic of the fight and swung it Busto's way, because he landed that right hand, I think it was.
Yeah, right hand.
And when he landed the right hand, it sent John down. And when that happened, it shifted. But then again, back in the third round, both guys took the round off a little bit. Busto was still a little more active, but Johns was the one, the fighter that looked hurt the most.
Yeah.
And then Busto kept it up, but John's corner was telling him to keep things active, or actually let it all hang out, basically, because he needed to, because of the knockdown.
Yeah.
But he didn't do it. He didn't turn it on. And that, Busto's got the win.
Busto's got the win. Solid win. He remains undefeated. He's 7-0 now. 4 KOs. Scores once again on that one. John Gradowski had it 39-36. And Don Risher, Paul Wallace both had it 38-37. Busto's once again 7-0. 4 KOs. John falling to 2-6-1 in this contest as well. Elsewhere on the card, Devontae Speed Rawls scored a 4th round TKO over Matthew Murphy. Devontae Speed Rawls out of Glenarden, Maryland, and Matthew Murphy out of East St. Louis, Missouri. Solid performance for Devontae Speed Rawls. He put on a great performance, basically battered Matthew Murphy all throughout the contest. I mean, he was just battering all through the bout, and really just hammered Matthew Murphy throughout the night, and to the point where the corner for Murphy, led by Mac Allison IV, basically said, let's stop the fight. I mean, it was an interesting situation, too, because, of course, Mac Allison IV and Mac Allison III, I'm sorry, was leading the corner. Mac Allison IV was in Murphy's corner and cheering Murphy on, which, again, was a show of pretty good sportsmanship, considering that the two of them, Allison and Murphy, met each other in a bout at the Burns Arena in Baltimore, and they battled to a 4-round majority draw. And then, I mean, a few months later, here's Murphy being cornered by Mac Allison and Mac Allison III, as well as James Hogan and Mac Allison IV. But Devontae Speed Rawls looked very good in that contest overall. The speed was really in great motion and really just battered Matt Murphy.
Yeah, Rawls, with a veteran trainer like he has, can't do nothing but get better.
Right. Of course, he's in there with Adrian Davis.
Adrian's an older guy, but it still has that knowledge of bringing with the abilities a fighter has. He can pull it out of him. And basically, I think Rawls' learning experience was the bout when he lost. He had the draw.
Well, he had a loss.
He had the loss, and then he had a draw also.
He had a draw early in the
exactly.
Story, yeah.
So, with those two under his belt already, I think he looks at it as just going forward and getting better, and he's proven it.
Right. And his speed was there, no question about it. He had some of the fastest hands, not named Gary Russell, probably in the entire Beltway area. Devontae Speed Rawls now 10-1-1, 7 KOs. Matthew Murphy falls at 3-25-3 with 2 KOs. Rashard Cold Blue Kilpatrick out of Oxon Hill, Maryland. He won a 4-round unanimous decision over Lamont White out of Washington, D.C. Now, this is, a situation where Kilpatrick did everything he could to knock out Lamont White. But for the 14th straight time, Lamont White does not go down. He does not get knocked out. He's there for the duration, gives Kilpatrick the work he needs. Kilpatrick wins by shutout 40-36, and so he's able to move on in his career. And again, White does not embarrass himself because he put on a good performance.
And White is going to be on those list of fighters that we had come into the Beltway boxing area that gives fighters the rounds they need. Okay. And that's that, and he falls in that category, and I think he accepts his role as that, and like tonight, he looked like he was in a defensive posture pretty much most of the time, but he knew when to let his hands go, right. And when he did let him go, he backed his opponent up, and matter of fact, that was the opening bout.
It wasn't
the opening bout.
No.
That's when he was able to back what is it?
Lamont White.
Lamont White backing up Kilpatrick. Yeah, so I'm sorry, you guys. I'm looking at the paperwork and looking at things. But when he was able to back Kirkpatrick up, he did that. But Kirkpatrick was able to come back each and every round and start off fresh and that's what the judges was looking at.
Yeah. Kirkpatrick was starting off the first part of the round. White may get the middle part of the round occasionally. That's why I thought White needed to get at least one of those 4 rounds. But Kirkpatrick would finish up the round. So usually it was 2-1 throughout the round. Kirkpatrick get the first minute, White may get the second minute, and then the third minute would go to Kirkpatrick. So Rashad Kirkpatrick now 2-0, 1 KO, 2-0, 1 KO. Lamont White, as we said, 113 with 1 KO. Dante Cox, now known as the Red Comet, scored a first-round TKO over Taisha Ferguson of Danville, Virginia. Just a strong combo by Cox. Landed and just knocked out Ferguson in the round. About stopped at 2:10 of the first round.
Yeah, once Cox started, actually from the opening bell, Cox came out putting combinations together, backing Ferguson up against the ropes, landing more combinations on him, power shots, body shots, head shots, and then he pulled off the ropes and allowed Ferguson to come back to the center of the ring, but kept doing the same thing, even in the center. And then it was to the point where the referee was actually Kenny Chevalier was telling Ferguson he got to show him something, because if he didn't show him anything, he was going to stop the fight. And Cox came right back out and put it on him again, and was landing more shots and back Ferguson up in his own corner, the blue corner, which Chevalier had just jump in there and just save this guy because he was taking the battering.
Yeah, no question about it. So Dante Cox now 2-0, 1 KO, gets his first pro knockout. Taisha Ferguson falls to 0-9. Opening contest tonight, battle of debuting boxers, and Marlon the Machine Bolin, Marlon the Machine Bolin out of Clinton, Maryland, scored a third-round TKO over Christopher Thorne of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And Bolin came out strong early in that contest and really put the pressure on Thorne.
Yeah, Thorne, I was wondering how much pressure can he take, because when Bolin was landing some shots, but at the beginning, and Thorne still stayed into it. He was still in there, but when Thorne started going to the body, that's when it made the difference. Yeah. He was when Bolin started going to the body of Thorne, that's when you could tell the difference. Those punches started affecting him a little bit. He dropped his hands, and then Bolin did, which I thought was a great thing for a pro debut. Knew exactly to go right back upstairs and break his opponent down. And also, a lot of those shots, what I talked to you earlier about, during the fight, it was the ability not to turn his punches over.
Exactly.
And a lot of those punches were slapping. They looked good to the audience, but
it sounded good too.
It sounded good and it looked good to the audience, but they weren't turned over. Exactly. If he turned those punches over, it would have been maybe a first round stoppage.
Yeah, it might have been an earlier stoppage, no question about that. So Marlon Bolin wins his pro debut once again. The time 2:50 of the third round. So that's the card here tonight from Laurel Ice House. Again, we apologize for the lack of connecting in that situation, but a great card on hand. Jetta Promotions, GQ Promotions did an outstanding job. Crowd was definitely into the majority of the card, and a big crowd. Matchmaker Brian Dillon did an outstanding job as well. An outstanding crowd here tonight at the Gardens Ice House in Laurel, Maryland. So we move on this coming Saturday, 1 week from Friday, I should say. This coming Friday. And that'll be Tori Nelson as she goes after the vacant WBA and WBO middleweight championships against Christina Hammer. I'm sorry, WBC and WBO championships for Tori Nelson against Christina. Actually, I think it was WBC IBF. That's what it is. WBC and IBF middleweight championships. All 4 middleweight titles on display coming up this coming Friday night from the Masonic Temple in Detroit, Michigan. As I said, Tori Nelson going after Christina Hammer, and the Clarissa Shields and Hannah Gabriels are going after the other 2 belts. Those are vacant belts. I believe this is the 14th title defense for Hammer as the WBC champion, and I think it's her first as an IBF title holder. So again, I'm surprised Tori Nelson's even in this situation. I really thought after she lost to Clarissa Shields, she'd finish her career, but it's a good payday for her, and whether or not she can handle Christina Hammer remains to be seen.
I believe the build up going into the Clarissa Shields fight, people were thinking that.
Yeah.
But actually visually watching the fight, and hear Carissa say Tori Nelson is one of the toughest fighters that she faced,
Yeah.
I think that's what kept Tori in the hunt to go after even more.
Yeah.
And with doing that, yeah, you got to keep it going.
So, I mean, the whole concept behind this doubleheader, which will be live on Showbox, by the way, on Showtime, is that the two winners are supposed to fight each other later on this year. So we'll see what happens. That's Friday night, June 22nd from Messiah Temple in Detroit, Michigan. Of course, Franchon Cruz DeZern also on that card, on the undercard as well. Then on Friday, June 29th, Friday, June 29th, will be at Martin's West in Woodlawn, Maryland for the Shabazz Brothers promotion come up there. That should be a good night as well. We'll have live coverage on that. We shouldn't have any problem with the Wi-Fi on that particular night. So that's Friday, June 29th from the Martin's West in Woodlawn, Maryland. Then on Saturday, June 30th, we'll be at the Sphinx Club in Washington, D.C. For the Putney Promotions card. No word on any more on that card other than the fact that Tiara Brown will be headlining the show, taking on Brittany Cruz, one of the few times, if not the only time, that a female has headlined a card here in Washington, D.C. I don't remember that happening anywhere. I know it's happening in Maryland because I know Layla Ali did that, and Tori Nelson has done it as well. Of course, Tori does it a lot in Virginia as well. And of course, I know one night in Baltimore, Maryland, and no, it's in Martin's West, where Tyra Shea, Douglas, who will be on that show on Friday, June 29th. Jennifer Salinas and Tori Nelson all headlined that particular show. But I can't remember it happening in D.C. anytime recently. So Tiara Brown will take on Brittany Cruz and the headliner on that Putney Promotions card on Saturday, June 30th at the Sphinx Club in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, we cannot broadcast from there. Like it was tonight, the Wi-Fi isn't that good.
This is underground. Basically.
Yeah, definitely. It's underground in that situation. Now, also this week, we have Keyshawn Davis at the Chemistry Cup in Halle, Germany. That'll be this week, as well as the Junior Olympics coming up on the 24th. In Charleston, West Virginia, starting on June 24th in Charleston, West Virginia. We haven't looked at July yet, so we'll see what happens in July. But June still is a good part of us here, and we're going to be involved in some good events coming up as June continues. So that will do it here for another edition of the Beltway Boxing on Beltway Post-Fight Wrap-Up Show. Remember, the Boxing on Beltway Post-Fight Wrap-Up Show brought to you by Real Time Pain Relief. www.freepainoffer.com. Buy $10 worth of real-time pain relief. Get a free $10 tube of real-time pain relief. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And buy DeborahSpears.com. Don't forget to buy that great pendant, boxing glove pendant. Get your first 20% off that boxing glove pendant. Go to Deborah, Debra Spears.com. For Juan Marshall, I'm Gary Digit Williams saying so long from the Gardens Ice House in Laurel, Maryland. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to seeing you at our next card. Until then, thanks for joining us, and always remember to keep supporting the best boxing in the world, the boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.